One of the questions I get asked on a regular basis is from parents saying, how do we develop my young son or daughter into being an elite athlete? And it's important to really understand that it takes 10 to 15 years to develop an athlete. So the important thing is there's different phases to development of athletes, and it's important to recognize each phase of that stage and not try to rush it. So the first phase is little kids, and these little kids, they love to run around and they start to learn how to run and jump and move in different directions, and that helps them develop their motor skills. So the first part is actually just letting kids play. Let them get outside, run around with their friends, chase a soccer ball, do various other things. And then we progress to the next stage where they actually start to become more just, rather than playing, they start to become more of an athlete. So as kids start to get a little bit older, sort of the 6 to 9 age group, they start to develop a little bit of strength. They're way more involved in developing their coordination, and they start to actually learn that, hey, I sort of like sport and I want to try and do this a little bit better. So they'll learn motor skills like kicking and throwing and jumping. And it's still important that the majority of time is, if they want to do a sport, say hockey, they want to do 75% practice and maybe 25% of actual games, because their development comes from practicing and playing with their buddies, not necessarily playing structured games. If you're interested in the science behind all these long-term athlete development models, if you go on a website, it's called ltad.ca. That's Sport Canada's website that explains the whole continuum of developing an athlete and how it takes from zero and little kids crawling around the floor right through to your elite level athletes. The third stage of athlete development is sort of learning sport. At this point, the kids are 9 to 12, and they're actually sort of saying to you, hey, mom and dad, I'm really interested in playing soccer, or I really want to play a hockey player. And this is where the kids start to sort of narrow it down to 1 or 2 sports. It's important to understand that kids physically, as they're going through the growth spurt, they can't play 8 sports. We need to narrow it down. They can play 3 or 4 and have fun in different seasons, but it's really important to monitor these kids so they don't end up with a bunch of overuse injuries. The important thing of the 9 to 12 phase is to still continuing on developing skills. And while we may get kids that want to be really competitive, it's more important to teach them how to be athletes first. So they're an athlete first, then a good soccer player, or an athlete first, then a good hockey player. And a lot of time we get sidetracked and we turn these kids into little, excellent hockey players, but they really don't have the physical makeup to tolerate the force at higher levels. The most important stage of developing elite level athletes is between the ages of 12 to 16. We still have to be careful with this group because they are going through growth spurts, and we need to make sure that we're monitoring them so we don't overdo it in the strength and conditioning as they start to grow. But this is where kids make the most gains. So whether it be strength, speed, agility, and most importantly for this group, their aerobic capacity, we can make huge gains that will last forever as an athlete in this particular age group. So it's important to concentrate and, again, not overdo it with sport-specific camps such as hockey camps or soccer camps. 1 or 2 of those in the summer is important, but the most important thing is to physically train these athletes and get them so that they're ready for the next level of sport. The phase from 16 to 18 years old is where athletes start to become elite level athletes. And they need to make a choice. There are the occasional superstar that can do 2 sports at an elite level, but very few of them actually can. The most important thing is they start to prioritize and say, you know what, I'm going to be an elite level soccer player or an elite level volleyball player or elite level hockey player. And you have to make that decision and start to be really professional about how you train, how you eat, how you rest, how you recover, and all those different aspects. At this stage, it's important to start thinking about a year-round training program, and that year-round program, I'm going to use an example of hockey players. The most important time is actually in the off-season. So in hockey, the seasons end in April and May, and we have to let the kids rest for a little bit first, and then we need to start physically training them. Aerobic capacity, strength, power, agility, speed, all of those need to be trained and planned all through the summer, from basically June through to the end of August, to get them ready for their training camps and their selection camps, and then we go from there and go into the next phase. It's important that they don't do too much else during that time, because we want to concentrate on the training. Then, as the technical part of the sport comes up in September, and we start getting them to do the technical side, which is trying to try out for teams and perform on the ice, we actually back off the level of training so that they can perform and we're not overdoing it and creating overuse injuries. So it's really important at this phase to start having a trained program and start to work with professionals to get the right advice about how to train to become elite. So the final phase of athlete development is when you actually become a professional athlete. And what you need to do is you need to be on a professional year-round training program that includes nutrition, that includes a strength and conditioning coach, a physiotherapist that jumps in if there's a situation where you're injured, but you have a plan. You have, this is my strength and conditioning time, this is my recovery phase, this is my competition phase, so I'm going to back off my training, and all those needs to be planned by a professional. And so when you see a professional athlete, or with my luck, I get to work with professional athletes all the time, you get them and they are doing it as a professional. It is their business and they take it very seriously.
I think for the most part, kids that need to try and get to the next level need to work smart. It's not only work hard, but you need to focus on something. Everyone's different. I mean, some guys need to get faster, some guys need to get bigger and stronger, some need to do all the above. I mean, it takes an appropriate program for the person, and obviously a lot of hard work and hours and dedication in the gym.